Greetings everyone, Solargical here, and finally my first official building for this board. I decided to make a two-story building with a small yard where you can grow vegetables and all that stuff, and including an outhouse because you know what, even back then they had to go somewhere. This house will have two chimneys, one for the first floor to heat up and the second one for the second floor. I started designing the second floor with a typical grid flooring system to support the weight. While I was doing that, the printing of the first floor printed successfully, and I was really satisfied with what I've done, and it just worked out great that way. The only thing on the second floor that is made out of brick is the chimney, and the chimney is supported by the chimney from the first floor. After the success of my first floor, the second floor looked like it was great, but the scale was off. It was too tall. I also needed a better solution for the transition between the wood frame of the second floor and the chimneys. To make the matter worse, it looked too small, so I decided to make a big square, larger second floor. I didn't realize that on the first floor there was no cooking area, so I modified a little bit to have a stone oven under a niche underneath the second chimney for the second floor. I realized I had also more room to make a balcony, so I added two balconies. I also wanted to make kind of a standard sized door that can be flipped over so it swing to the right or to swing to the left. And that worked out. I tried two different things. One with you can change the door and clip it in, but that didn't hold very well. So instead I decided to make a built-in rod with holes on top and bottom so it swings. Once that was all done, it was time to move on to the roof. So I picked to do a Terra Cota roof instead. Initially took an uneducated guess on how it was done. When I shared in Summon a Lesser Maker's Discord group how I was going with my progress with my roof, someone told me, hey, this is not how you do that. And they explained it to me. And then I decided to research, so that's that set of pictures that you see. So once they form the clay and it dries out, they put it in a building that is like a giant oven. So they stagger in piles and in sets each of the terracotta tiles like that, and in between they put other slabs of other tiles like flooring tiles that they would put inside the house that needs to be cooked as well. They fill out the entire space that way. All those gaps, inside of those gaps, they add charcoal between each layer. So at the bottom there you saw the charcoal, and above they're going to put the charcoal, and they burn all that and they cook it. When it's all done, they pack it away to ship it in. To this day, they still do it that way. After learning how it was properly done, I decided to do those tiles, and I put it upside out like that. But for purpose of 3D printing and modifying the roof so it looks like it's old and the tiles are a bit damaged, I decided to modify it a little bit so it can rotate it and I can have a less than perfect roof. So I sent it to the printer to check to see how it was going to turn out, and it turned out perfectly. So I had my first floor, second floor, and roof done with balconies. So now it's time to do the garden tile with all the fencing and the outhouse. I try not to use support, but for the doors and the outhouse roof, I couldn't avoid that. Although initially the support failed, it ended up to recover, so sometimes it works out. The first roof I printed was too perfect. They were all lined up, and it didn't convey the old roof that the building was there for a long time and it went through some damages. So just to give you an example on how that was quite tedious to do. So I had to pick every single one. Well, not all of them, but I just picked a whole bunch of them, and I started moving them around and shifting it from a different angle to see if it was I moved it enough on one side or not too much, or I just wanted to be realistic as an aged and battered roof. It also had to print without needing support and print failing in midair or something like that. And one thing too, that roof took over 13 hours to print on a pretty fast printer. Combining the first floor and the second floor still took less time than printing just the roof. Now that everything is printed, let's go and see how everything works together. This is the outhouse and the door. I only use the support on the edge, so everything in the side is just, you see all the stuff dangling there? And that's cool, because I'll use it as an effect with dangling plants. It's been sitting there for a long time. And the door, Can fit either way. Sorry, it's a bit off screen there. So the door swing open one way that way. Let's move on to the garden. If you notice, it's connected with a Nib-Nub connector, so it's holding securely like that. You can use the magnet or use the framework system that I'm using for the full board itself. Let's check out the house now. So I'm just rotating there so you can see the balconies and how it works, and the doors will fit in there. Now let's just remove the roof. You see the roof is open like that, and it's secured by those little holes. And here's the details of the roof once it's printed. Let's look inside the house. You see on the second floor there's the chimney there on the right with the second floor fireplace. Let's quickly grab the door and see how that works. So the door fits under each of those places, and the door opens and closes with no big issues there. It's just depending on the tolerance of your printer how it works. You might have to just modify it by scaling it up or scaling it down by 0.1 or 0.2 millimeter. And you see, the door is compatible to all the holes. And they'll have in the future there'll be different design of doors, but the frame will always going to be standard for all the doors of all the buildings of this type. As you can see, there's two small rooms where people can sleep and then a large living area. Now let's go and check out the first floor. Let's go and check out the inside of the first floor. Here's the stone oven I was talking about, and I use no support, so just let's use the clipper to clean that up. The same place with the fireplace. There are a couple of options how the door fits. So you put, let's try this one. Oh, just popped it off. Oh, just me, clumsy as always. So the door goes in place like that, and it opens that way. I have two doors modeled so far, but the door goes in there, and you'll have to glue it in for it to be secured. But what I'm trying to convey, I think, is that, see, the door opens this way, and it's not necessarily practical that way, but if you wanted to swing the other way, you just flip the door over that way, and it swings the opposite. If you wanted to swing into the inside of the building, well, then you face it the other way. So the doors can be used for any directions or whatever sides you want them to swing. Now, why do I have removable balconies? Let's just clear that up a bit. I don't know what I'm doing here, but anyway, I guess I'm showing things around. Now, the balconies, they slide in and slide out, and the reason for that is that you can have different sized balconies. I'll have wider balconies, and also if there's an opposing buildings, it can connect with a ramp. Now you can see there's a little locking mechanism there. It just depends on the tolerance of your printer and how secure you want this to be. Because if you put a miniature in there and it's a second floor or third floor, and it slides, it's too loose, then it's gonna fall off. And you can't scale it like the door. The door you can scale it like 0.1, 0.2 for a tighter fit or looser fit. With this, if you do that, you're gonna change the size of the balcony. And if it's still too tight, well, then you can sand off a little bit of the sides of those little hook things. Again, just didn't use any support printing that except for the door jamb thing. It's just because I didn't feel like cleaning it, but my test prints, in the prototypes, all I had to do was just sand down and the door fit perfectly that way. This actually makes it a bit easier to secure the doors. Another one of the reasons why I always in all my designs I make the doors print separately is because if they break, you don't have to print the entire building and repaint the whole building. All you have to do is snap off the door jamb and print a new door and put everything back together. My sci-fi terrain is like that as well. Just quickly want to show you how a 32 millimeter miniature fits in there. I know a lot of the D&D stuff is 28 millimeter, but it still works out in scale because you have giants and elves that are tall and all those things. And the bases can clip in the stairs like that to have them midway up, going upstairs for their movement. I use Mod Podge to just prep the terrain with as a primer. serves to different purposes. You'll see along the video. Now that we're prepping the terrain, let's move to the doors here. The doors are a bit delicate at first when you print them with the support to cut the support. You don't want to cut too close to where the swing rod is, so you don't snap it. I'm clumsy, so I broke 2 doors, but I know you're not. Or if you are, well, print extra ones. I also printed those in a draft mode, so they're a bit not as hefty and strong as if they were printed in higher quality. If you print in higher quality, the plastic is going to be a bit denser, there'll be more details, and that rod or the peg, the swing peg or the rod will be a lot tougher. I guess what I'm doing there, I should have used the file or sandpaper just to smooth it a little bit. And when you close it, don't be afraid. Just go gently, but there'll be a bit of resistance because a little bit will still be fused from the printer, but it's not a very big section that's fused, so it won't break unless you're just too rough. But don't be afraid to just gently squeeze hard, I guess. When it comes down to the small fenced garden or fenced backyard, I didn't use any support there either. And all those chunks, you can cut them off if you want, but you can also leave them to have an overgrowth to be more secure through it, or just paint them as some viney grossness things that are moldy and growing out from no one has taken care of it, so it's just moldy and gross. Same with the outhouse because it's more nefarious with all the pooping and the farting. And don't forget, you can magnetize the tiles to connect with the rest. But what I really recommend is that you buy the Framwork system so you can have, well, they're going to be a surprise. And once my board is finished, the surface of the board, it will be a huge reveal for a huge surprise that I have planned. Here's another reason why I'm using Mod Podge as a primer, because not only that it's secure and primes it, it's also glue. And because it's a glue, then you can put sand, you can put dirt, you can, in this case, it's dry tea leaves. I just drop them off all over the place to make like some harsh dirt. And don't forget to put a plate underneath or a container underneath so it doesn't go all over your table and becomes really messy. And you can see I'm just shaking it and making sure it covers everywhere. And then after that, I'm just going to dump the excess into that little pan, that clear pan from really good, delicious chocolate. I love Ferrero Rocher's chocolate. And actually, that was a really good reason to buy a very big and large box of it. I normally share everything with my wife, and I did in this case because I really, really needed to be able to do those terrain. So I ate it all and I didn't share, and I got in big, big trouble. And once you're done, all the excess goes back into the tea leaves container. And look like I made a mess anyway. I should have gotten a bigger box. Surprisingly again, the roof seems to have been a bigger job. Another reason why to use Mod Podge is because it can give texture and a little bit of clump. So I can really put texture and shapes and make some grooves and directional waves or whatever. There's a lot you can do with this. And when it comes to the wood flooring as well, I can give more of the veins too with the roof with the floor. So I'm just splotching it a bit like that, all directions. Then after that, I'm just going to paint them in the direction of the grain of the wood, and it adds texture there as well. And then the outhouse, and that feels wrong somehow. And at first I was a bit concerned about doing that with the doors. And if this wouldn't have worked out, and that would have been completely a write-off, the entire project, everything so far would have been like completely kaput. But it worked out at the end. I didn't have any problem with using Mod Podge and doing those doors. There was also no issues, but there was no worries about the balconies. I know I used Mod Podge for the base of that, but just to seal it on both sides because there was still some of it that was sticking, like you saw that one that just fell off a bit. It it just seals the deals. Now by doing Mod Podge on top of that, and I realized by wetting the brush into the water, make it a bit runnier, it did a better job than just gooping it down. And we can't forget putting the dirt in front of the porch, in the front of the house. So I'm just gonna do the same thing as I did with the garden. It's just a bit trickier doing it in front of the camera because you can't see what I'm doing. But just the idea is exactly the same. Just don't put any on the rock from the porch part itself, and you just have to shove it around with your finger. Now it's finally time to put those doors there. And I still can't find the super glue for the mess of my chaos. So I'm using you off camera there glue gun. Just make sure you don't goop up the spot where the door swings, and make sure you face the door the way you want it. And you just put it in like this and just clean off the excess that goes in your finger that you can't see on the camera. You align the door, and then there's enough play for it to not get solidly glued on. Now you have a functional door and a functional outhouse. And always dry fit everything before I start gluing and commit to the glue. Again, just make sure you don't goop up that sewing post there. Put on both sides. On that side, it's taking forever. Just putting it on. And then you just put the door in place. And you secure it in place. You make sure that it's as perfect as a fit as possible, and you clean up the goop before it goes everywhere and you destroy the swinging potential of the door. I have to say I struggle a bit with this one. It's not that it didn't fit or it was too loose or anything. I'm just too clumsy for small things like that. So I think I kind of broke off the strength of the glue. So I'm just went back and added a couple of droplets here and there. I'm pretty happy all three doors are there and secure, and I haven't glued my eyeballs together, so that's good. I really had a hard time with this one because of the space constraint and the size of my clumsy hands, and so I had to put a little bit of more glue everywhere on the inside. I'm really tired of always blaming myself for that, so I'm gonna blame the glue gun for this one. And it's fixed. Now the part that I'm the most scared of is painting it. I still have a long way to go with the painting, but I'm gonna give it my best shot. So what I'm doing, I'm gonna be painting random bricks here and there, because not all the bricks are the same. And although they really stand out that way, once I put the wash, it's just gonna fade. I'm hoping anyway. It works on other videos from other creators, and I'm off camera here. But if it works for others, it should technically work for me, but I guess we'll find out. Using the same color, I'm doing the plaster on the second floor, and I'm putting it a little bit thicker because I want that pattern. I want that pattern of hand plaster, however they applied this. I have no idea. I guess I should have researched that. It's my understanding that back in those days they only had bright colors or basic colors. And so I did blue, I did green, I did yellows. And they also had wallpaper, but I don't have a color printer and I'm stuck at home right now, so I don't have access to go in to the library and print patterns. After I finished painting pretty much everything except for the doors, I used the dirty wash from the brush wash water to just splotch things around and make it dirty. And the Terra Cota looks really bright, but it's really subdued. It really looks like Terra Cota. It's just the light is strong like that. As I'm painting the outhouse, mostly out of frame for your safety, and You notice I mix match both colors, the terracotta roof color that I use with the brown that I'm using, and it just gives a mix match effect on the wood, and it really turned out really good with minimal effort. You see, I pick one, I mix with the other one, and I just blotched around and make sure I get it everywhere. I'm hoping for everybody's sake that whoever's using that outhouse is not getting it everywhere as well. And this is how it looks when it's done. It looks a lot better in real life than because the light is too bright there. I'll have to figure something out with the lighting. And now it's time to move on with the brown for all the wood on the rest of the building. So I'm doing exactly the same thing I did with the outhouse for all the wood frame everywhere. If you haven't already noticed, you'll notice later that I completely forgot to do the staircases of the first floor as well as the inner beams of the first floor that are supporting the second floor. But that's okay. I did at 3 o'clock in the morning painting. That doesn't really bode very well, and I shouldn't be doing that. One of the most terrifying thing about aging a building or grim dark is the wash, because you put it on, it's dark and it just messes everything, and see how are you going to clean that and how it's going to turn out. Is there's no way in hell all that hard job you did painting is gone, but actually it's not. It's quite magical. It looks really dirty, and who goes up there, and they don't even shower bathe back then, so I don't think they're going to start cleaning walls and rooftops and all that stuff while they go around walking like dirty bum holes. I really had a hard time doing the terracotta roof, but I think it's just because of all those grooves and the stuff in between. If you notice, right next to my on the right side of my fat hand there, you see the grate because I rubbed it too hard at first, and I should have dabbed instead of rubbing. And I probably shouldn't have used a paper towel like that. I should have probably used one of those sponge brushes and keep it clean, because I just rubbed off some of that nice paint. I really dislike the bricks because they look so bright, and I didn't think I could really save that somehow. I was just hoping that I could with the wash, and it ended up okay. It's still a bit on too much of the bright side. I should have used a darker gray for some of those bricks instead of leaving it the color of the original filament, but it worked out at the end. When it came down to the chimney, it was quite satisfying. I didn't worry about it at all, which I'm surprised why. It was just really fun doing the chimney for some reason. For the inside of the first floor, I didn't want to use the wash, so instead I rubbed whatever was left on or semi-dry from the paper towel. I rubbed the walls, and it gave a completely different effect. And it just looked like an effect of it was like worn out, could be soot or whatever, but it just really gave a different feel instead of just the direct wash and wipe. And now it's time to dirty up those bright colors found in each of the room of the second floor. And then it will be the reveal of the final product. I hope you really enjoyed that video so far, and that I really hope it hasn't been too long of a video, because I'm assuming by this time that it's longer than most of my other videos. And those files of that building can be found and to be purchased at my online store. Thank you so much for watching this video and supporting my channel and purchasing my terrain. I really enjoy doing this, and without you guys being there supportive and helping me to make all those creations, it's I don't know what to say. Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, any advices on techniques or any questions you have, please feel free to ask, and let's be interactive. Looking forward to have that completely finish with that board and move on to the next project. See, I forgot to do the stairs there. The door works, and it close, open. This one opens and close. Don't hear any creak. Oh, I guess I didn't fully close that. And I should be sanding the bottom of the door a little bit more. I want to leave a little bit so it gives a little bit of resistance so they don't flop on their own. So I guess it's the more you get used to it, and the more you print them, the more you get a better judge on how that works. See what I mean about those interior walls? I really like that effect, and I really have to go back and paint those staircase and those support beams. And here's the outhouse in the backyard or side yard. I'm not sure. What do you think? Should I glue it in or should I leave it that way? And now to finish up that video, let's just assemble everything together. As you can see, it's modular and it fits together. And the two chimneys are separate. So you can use the second floor as a first floor as a terrain with a roof. Or you can also use the first floor as just being one floor and using a roof again, the same roof. So it all works together. And this is the one house building on my board. I still don't have a period time miniature, so there we go. Star Wars Legion miniature. They travel in time.